Hey guys, Brady here with your daily tennis lesson, talking today about a play to use against somebody that lobs you a lot when you go to the net. Okay, and this is a play that we would consider a bounce overhead from the baseline. All right, and so I'm going to lead into this idea. Obviously, like we said, we're at the baseline. Kind of the way to get comfortable with a bounce overhead from the baseline, you guys, is to think about what you do from here as well with the same motion, which is serve. And the cool idea is that when I'm serving, I got to land it just into the service box. But what if every time I served the ball, I had the entire singles court to serve the ball into? I mean, that would be absolute heaven. And I think most of you guys would agree. So that leads me to believe that an overhead swing from the baseline is my service motion with a much broader court to work with. Okay, so that, number one, I think should get you guys into a really offensive mindset about playing this guy that lobs you really high and deep, pushes you back to the baseline, and instead of, retreating back and getting defensive and throwing up the lob and being frustrated, treat it like you've got a serve with the entire singles court to work with, okay? So a little drill you guys can do if you don't have a partner is practice that swing off the bounce. So take a couple balls, toss the ball up relatively high, set your racket more just in the trophy position. Don't work on your wind up because it's actually, an overhead that we're going to be hitting. All right, and I'll go ahead and I'll toss really high, move a little bit, and I'll practice that overhead swing from the baseline. If for some reason that's a struggle for you guys to make that serve, adding a little bit of slice on your bounce overhead from the baseline, I think will give you guys a little bit more control. So try that if the flat overhead is not working. Okay, if you do have a partner that you practice with and they don't mind, working on a few shots with you guys, go ahead and start around the service line. Mark's gonna lob me. It's gonna be a really high, deep lob. We see it all the time from these players around the club that lob. I'm gonna get into my trophy pose, I'll pull back, and then I'll just let rip on a swing, like I said, that gives me a lot of court to work with. So I'm going to stay very aggressive. Okay, so here we go, Mark. Yeah, there's a good one right there. You guys can see I'm just around the baseline. It's going to take an incredibly deep lob for me to have to get farther back than that. So know that that's kind of your window for moving, is the service line to the baseline for this shot. All right, so there we go. Bounce overhead from the baseline. Really fun tactic against the type of player that annoys so many of my students, and I know they annoy so many of you guys, is the player that just consistently lobs you when you go to net. So let's have some of these ideas where it makes playing against them a little more fun and makes them think twice about wanting to lob me if I can come off their deep lob with a really big overhead from the baseline. One thing to think about there, you guys, again, is if you're struggling with that shot, not with the power of it, not with the aggressiveness of it, but with just making it. I know we love the idea that the court's really big for a serve, or we talked about serving into the entire singles court. Don't necessarily go for the sidelines with that overhead. Try to blast closer to the middle and see if that lobber can handle. If they can, then start to work that swing a little more to the sides of the court. All right? So I hope that was really helpful for you guys. Please click like below this video. And if you happen to be watching on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. Thanks, and we'll see you guys soon.